Hello, I'm Wes Bridle, and this is another Kingdom Calling economic update. It's been about a week and a half since I shot the last video, and a tremendous amount is happening each time. I've borrowed a new camera. This is actually my camera. I was borrowing a camera before, and hopefully I'm able to do these a little more often because so much happens in such a short amount of time these days. I'm going to shoot this video and then shoot another video on a more specific topic. If you've watched the coming storm video, you know that a lot of what we've talked about is already coming to pass. We haven't seen the pain yet that's going to come, but a lot of the things that I warned about in November are marching forward. So we're going to talk about these things today so you can help to be prepared. I do want to start with some good news. We see here in the last week and a half, Sam Zell and Brookfield, who are two of the greatest commercial real estate investors, are buying. So that's a good sign that we've hit a bottom in that market. They typically buy when the market's low and they sell when the market's high. So that's a potentially good news. Again, if you've seen the coming storm video, and there should be a link right next to this video where you can go and watch that video for free if you've not seen it. I really recommend it. But you know that we're in for some hard times if you have seen that video. And there's more news out in the last week and a half. The FDIC reserve ratios are now negative, meaning on a technical basis they now have negative cash. We talked about in November at the coming storm that they were going to be getting money from their member banks ahead of time, and so they have done that. So they're not out of cash. They're just, as far as accounting goes, they're not accounting for that cash yet, so that technically they have negative cash because they're now having to use cash that belongs in the future. The FDIC chairwoman, president, whatever her title is, the head of it has also said to expect massive bank failures this year. So that's what we have ahead of us this year. We've also seen bank lending contracting in the last 3 months at the highest rate in recorded history. So there's no lending out there. It's difficult to do business if you're wanting to get a hold of money. Banks are scared because they know they have a lot of bad assets on their books, and so they don't want to lend more money because they know some of the loans that they have outstanding were bad loans, and so that's the situation we're in. At the same time, and somewhat similar, there's 4 million U.S. homeowners that are now over 90 days delinquent on their mortgages. 4 million homeowners. That's a massive number. I don't know how many homeowners there are in the U.S., but out of 300 million men, women, and children, the 4 million is a very big number compared to those of that number that actually own homes. The state governments have $1 trillion gap between what they've promised state employees and what they actually have the money to fund. So things like pension, health care, all those kinds of things, there's a $1 trillion gap between all the states. Now, we talked about this in November, but I don't expect what's going to happen. The only thing that can happen is the U.S. government's going to step in to bail them out. Just some assorted news. This is kind of interesting. Several top mining executives have jumped onto this. Well, I mean, they just say this is the situation, that there is a peak gold. You might have heard of peak oil theory, which says there's only a certain amount and now we're past. Well, apparently that's the case in gold. We've mined all the easy gold, and the gold that's left to get to is harder and harder to get to. So it's another contributing factor to gold prices spiking significantly here in the future. Charlie Munger, who is Warren Buffett's partner, put out a parable recently, and he basically called the U.S. basic land and said with everything that Wall Street's been doing, it's been kind of like casinos, and that we've all been kind of walling around in this gambling mentality, and that the title of it is basically it's over. And in the end, the U.S. turns into sorrow land. And so this is one of the greatest investors in our country, again, a new one, saying it's over for us. Talking about Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, it's found out that they're not only heavily involved with our problems here, but heavily involved with the problems in Greece. The last economic update was on Greece, and apparently Goldman helped them cook the books so they could get into the European Union, because with their debt and deficits they shouldn't have been able to get into the European Union, the monetary union, but Goldman helped them cook the books and is still helping them, so they're involved in all these problems. Ron Paul's bill to audit the Fed has majority approval, but the House leaders will not let it come to a vote. And so this is an interesting bill because it would expose what the Fed is doing. We know the Fed is doing a lot of stuff that no sane person would want to do with their money, with our money. But there's good reason to think they're doing a whole lot of other stuff that we wouldn't want to be doing because it's absolutely secret. There's a lot of thought out there that they've done some things with swaps with other countries perhaps, or different things with the gold hoard that we have. For whatever reason, they've got access to that. The St. Louis Fed President Honig came out recently and said that we're on an unsustainable course in this country, that we are going to have to go through some very severe pain, that it had to be done sooner or later, and we needed to just head towards that because there's no way out. So this is a chairman of one of the Federal Reserve banks saying this. And so we've talked about all these things in the Coming Storm video. Again, if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend that you watch it. These things are happening just as we said in November. You haven't felt it yet. There still is time to prepare. But there's a link to go watch that hour-and-a-half video to give you a full understanding and much more context than I can give you here. If you have any question, please feel free to email me, Wes at kingdomcalling.com. Also, I'm about to shoot another video, which we probably won't get out there for another couple days, but just about the very specific issues about what other countries are doing with our treasuries. This is maybe the scariest news of all. Thanks for your time, and God bless you.